What happened to Molly?
First, welcome to 44 and 1. Jiva's little Tempest, as always, like, subscribe, blah, blah. So Molly, the Menace, my mom's dog, so my mom had me over yesterday and I was helping her. My sister and I were helping her with some stuff around the house, in the backyard specifically, because my mom's got mobility issues. So we were doing all the heavy lifting and she was doing all the heavy commanding. She's very bossy. So my mom puts down like rat and mouse poison in her shed, not because she has mice, because she doesn't want mice and she feels that she doesn't have them because of this poison, but she probably wouldn't have them anyway. That's neither here nor there. So Molly gets into the shed. She comes out of the shed licking her lips with green shit all over.
No.
So it's almost time for me to leave and do my groceries and do whatever. So I was like, okay, we need, I scooped her up, gave her to my sister. You got to take her to the emerge because she needs to induce vomiting. I'll stay behind and try to figure out how much she ate or whatever. So then my sister goes to the vet and then she calls and says that the vet needs a case number from poison control. So they give us a phone number to call us, the ASPCA poison control. Short story long, I guess. She's fine. She would have had to have eaten the whole box. The type that she ate would maybe just give her some mild diarrhea and vomiting.
Fuck for that.
But we didn't know that at the time, right? She comes out crunching a rat poison pellet, and she's not much bigger than a rat. We're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
If she were a cat, she'd be on her third life by now. But no, she was fine. But the call to the ASPCA poison control is $95 US. And then while they were at the vet, because the vet said we won't do anything until we hear back from poison control, but then they decided to induce vomiting anyway. So then unnecessarily induce the vomiting because they were waiting to hear back from poison control. So now my mom was on the hook for another charge for that. Yeah. So it was unfortunate.
Useless.
But Molly's fine now.
I don't think I've seen those glasses before. Where did you get them from?
I got them from Zilul. Thank you for asking. There's a link and promo code at the bottom of and then my mom got these back issues, so her doctor has said no deep bending, no lifting up heavy things. So whenever my sister wasn't looking, my mom's deep bending, and then I'm like, the doctor she's like, your sister doesn't let me do anything. I'm like, the doctor told you to do this.
Yeah.
Put your ass out of the air and stand up. Infuriating parents are.
Yeah, that's why I don't talk to mine.
Oh, all right.
No, genuinely, your mum sounds awesome. She sounds
she's good. She's small in stature but large in attitude. She's like Zool.
She's like a kitten, basically. She thinks she's as big as a lion, but she's like this tiny kitten.
True. She's the shortest of. I mean, I'm the tallest of the three of us at 5'6" and a half. Thank you. My sister, I think my sister's 5'4", my mom's 5'2".
Oh, dinky.
Dinky. And then my brother, I think he's, 5'10", 6 feet, and my dad was 6 feet.
Wouldn't it be funny if you got your dad's height genes and then your brother didn't?
So I remember being at a family funeral once, and I was at the back because I came a bit late, unfortunately. And when I walked in, even though I'm only 5'6", I was still taller than 70% of the people in the room, because there's a lot of short people in my family. One time, when I was 5, my mom and I were at the bakery, and I had an uncle. My uncle and all of his sisters were very, very petite in stature. And I'm 5 years old, and as my mom is talking to this woman who is significantly shorter than my 5'2" mom, and then as they're walking away, I guess kind of loudly, I said, why is she so small? And she turned around and said, that's because that's how God made me. And I was like, okay. And that happened when I was 5. I'm 48 years old now, and every time I see her, which is not often, but every single time I see her, she tells me that story, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, so there's this woman who's been using her allotment all through the pandemic to grow food so that she can feed people in difficulty in her local community. And she's fed over 1,600 people throughout the pandemic. And people have been having problems with her doing it. I don't know the entire story in detail, but it just seems to be this running theme that we've been having over the last sort of 5 years or so, and it's particularly prevalent in the States, but it's happening here a lot. Like this woman was in the UK, and people vandalized her allotment, but it wasn't like your typical allotment vandalizing. Usually people might steal the vegetables, trash the sheds, throw shit around. No, these people came in with kilograms of salt and just salted her entire allotment so she can't grow anything.
And like it's like that grandmother in Texas who got arrested for trying to feed hungry, and now this one's trying to do the same. Why are people so, I don't know, like reading that story, it doesn't give me the vibes that it was just a random person who was like, oh, you shouldn't do that thing. It feels a lot more calculated than that. Because a random person, like you said, they would come in and kick the vegetables around or do whatever, but to purchase all of that salt and then have the time to pull up with all of that salt, have the time, have that feels a lot more than just, oh, I don't like Sally down the street.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like it's somebody that has a problem with charitable giving. And I'm wondering if it's because it's like an anti-poverty thing. So, I mean, you see this a lot in anti-homelessness laws and anti-vagrancy laws, particularly in the States and in parts of Europe, where they erect pieces of architecture to stop homeless people and vagrants using it. Whether it's like those concrete pyramids we spoke about the other day, or whether they put spikes on benches and stuff like that, that pop up at different times. And they kind of see homeless people as vermin and scum. And so they associate anybody trying to help them as also being vermin and scum.
But it's, to what end is their plan? Because it's not going to solve the problem. They're just kind of hoping that maybe those people will move to a different municipality to make it somebody else's problem. Like, it's just not going to fix it by moving it around. Although this is kind of sorted out. If there's a positive to come out of the story, it's that her GoFundMe page has skyrocketed. So she's going to be able, when she gets her soil back, she'll be able to do even more, and then hopefully put in security cameras as a result. You know what I didn't love about the story, though? I mean, I didn't love any part of the story. Is in every article that I brought up about it, they always comment about that she's got multiple sclerosis and lupus. And I mean, we all agree that it's supremely shitty to discriminate against someone because of their health issues or disabilities, but it feels like every time they bring it up, it's as a means to garner more sympathy. And that's just as shady. It was already shitty enough what happened to her, but now to throw it in that, like, oh, look what happened to the poor disabled lady angle, this makes it feel a little bit shittier. It reminds me of a Welsh cunt I know who will be like, but I'm autistic anytime he does something stupid.
I don't know who the fuck you're talking about, because I certainly don't know any Welsh people that would do that.
It's you. You're that Welsh cunt. I need everyone who's listening to know that I'm not making fun of autistic people. I'm just making fun of Chris, who happens to be autistic.
I'm Welsh.
I'm an equal opportunity asshole.
I have 3 disabilities, I'll have you know, because
it's not a competition.
No, it is. It is. You're making it one, woman. Open-handed slap.
Although I will have you know that throughout a lot of history, being a woman was considered a disability, so that trumps your thoughting back.
Yeah, no, it's nothing to do with my back, actually. It's that I'm autistic, so there's that. And I'm Welsh, so there's that.
That's not a disability.
It is. It is in the UK. It's a sanctioned, verified disability, and I'm also a man.
No.
Yeah.
How is that a disability?
I'm incompetent and I can't understand. Well, there's 4 because I'm white as well. So I'm privileged and I can't see the world from other people's perspectives. And my penis does my thinking. And I can't multitask. And I don't know if I told you this, but I'm also autistic. So.
And you've got those chiclets.
Yeah, I got bad teeth, which are getting fixed. I'll have you and everyone know. I've had 9 out of 10 fillings. It's cost me £1,500. But
Yeah.
yeah, because I couldn't get an NHS dentist, which is why they got so bad during the pandemic because of being a disabled drug addict. My teeth just kind of dropped off the edge of the cliff. They were fine for quite a while, and then since sort of like 2020, I went through a really bad period, and then I couldn't get an NHS dentist to get them fixed, and then it got to the point it was.
Explain to me what because for us it's just dentist. There's no difference between them. So what's an NHS dentist?
So an NHS dentist is the same as the rest of our healthcare, basically, that you can, because we pay tax money, that means that we can access, at the point of use, our healthcare should be free. Dentistry is a bit weird. This is why so many British people have bad teeth, is because even though we pay into the NHS and we have NHS dentists, it still costs us something. So for me to have, say, 10 fillings is £1,500. That's like $2,500 to you guys. And if I'd had it on the NHS, it would probably be about a third of that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so why couldn't you do it through the NHS?
Because A, there's not enough dentists, and B, the waiting lists are too long. And so basically most of them aren't taking new patients. And then it's because it's kind of like the forgotten bit of the NHS that like there's no money to pay the dentist, there's no money to pay the dental assistants and all that stuff. And it's just based, it is one of the reasons why we all have such bad teeth, because there's just
my town is full of dentists. That like when when we first moved here, we had a dentist instantly. Doctor was a bit harder to find. We got a dentist instantly. And then my dentist pissed me off. So I was like, I'll just get another dentist. And I had, within 20 minutes, I had a dentist. I called one off it. And I was like, are you taking new patients? Yep. Okay.
Oh, well, we have plenty of dentists. It's just that that you have to pay for them. So they're not on the NHS.
So we have, I don't know how it works for us. I don't think there's much that's government funded for us. I think it's from our work benefits that pays for it. So when we go, because they'll do what they call a coordination of benefits. So I think my dental coverage is 80%. So 80% will be covered, and then the other 20% my husband's will cover, so that we're fully 100%.
Well, we don't even have that. Most of us won't have dental health care in our job contracts.
That sucks.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that, so I had my last appointment a week and a half ago. Guess where my next appointment is? Back end of May.
Oh.
Yeah. And then, so I started having this stuff done on my teeth. When was it? It was like last September. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's taken me 6 months.
It has been September, because that's the reason you couldn't come, is because of your dental work fucked your neck up. Yeah.
Oh, that was one of the reasons. Yeah.
Here, like if I go to the dentist for a cleaning and they notice that I have a dentate or a cavity, I'll usually be back in a couple of days to fill the cavity.
Oh, no. So my last appointment was quite bad because I was having quite a bad day with my neck, and I was like, I can't reschedule it again because it's like I need this done. And then so it was like on my front couple of teeth over here. I won't show people them; they're gross. And then, but like my neck was really playing up quite bad, and I was getting this splitting headache. It was one of the worst migraines I could imagine. And then my jaw was hurting by holding it open and stuff. And then the dentist was like, hello, but I've drilled your holes and stuff. Like, we can't really stop. And so we kind of like had to move me around to see if there was a better position. And so I was sitting straight up in the chair, and he was crouched down in front of me, like doing all this, putting the fillings. Like, honestly, he's the best dentist I've ever had. Like, he's fucking amazing.
Good.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's dentistry in the UK.
That started as you telling me how disabled you are, and ended up with your whole
my dental history.
Yeah. The old dentist we had where we lived before has not upgraded his office since 1983. The last time I went in there, they moved the like table over that had the tools on it, and everything slid off onto the floor because the table was so wonky and janky that. And I asked the hygienist, I said, have there not been advancements in dental care?
Yeah.
in the past 20 years? And she said, yeah, a lot. He's just really cheap. And I was like, I'm out. So then I
Oh
found
my God.
like, I can't do it. And then I went to my new dentist, or the dentist that I moved to, and it was like stepping into the future. I was in there like, what? What is this work? And they looked at me like I was an idiot because I had never seen like they had like a water drill or whatever. And I was like,
Oh, cool.
what sorcery is this?
Yeah. I had when I was living back in Huddersfield, I had one of the worst tooth extractions I've ever had. And it was because I've been on painkillers for so long. My wisdom tooth was impacting the molar. And I had no idea because I was like taking all these painkillers. So I didn't know what was wrong. And it cracked the tooth. And then because it was cracked, then so all obviously everything got in and it started to decay. And it'd been like that for like a year. And I had literally no idea. And then so when the guy was trying to take it out, he had to basically like cut it in half. You had to pull bits out. And yeah. And because I've got really long roots and they're really curved, part of it he couldn't get out. And he was like pulling it back and forth. Yeah, and then when he eventually got part of it out, it nearly flew off because he was just like, and he was there for like half an hour trying to get the tooth out. There's still a bit in my mouth because
that's crazy.
Yeah, so like the wisdom tooth is kind of like so it impacted and it's kind of gone like that, and it's kind of grown across that way, and then so a bit of the old tooth it was like that, and then so it's pushing up like that. No, it's like that. That was it. So
you
we
know,
can't.
people listening are going to be like, what the fuck is he even talking about?
Yeah, that's true. So basically, part of the tooth is stuck because of the impact of the wisdom tooth. He can't pull out part of it.
At a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, that's right. And it's over the top of the bit that's left of the old tooth.
Correct.
Yeah.
When I had my wisdom teeth out, they had already grown out. They didn't affect my teeth, but they were so out that they didn't even sedate me. They gave me needles, and then I was like, popped them out. One of them's still in there because it hadn't grown out. So he just decided to leave it instead of doing surgery. But because he kept giving me needles, he was going in for the last one, and I could feel it the entire time. And my sister was there with me. And then he's like, I legally cannot give you any more.
Yeah.
So we got to do it. He's like, we'll wait a few minutes and see if it kicks in. And then my sister just kind of like slapped me across the face. And I was like, yep, no, we're good to go. Didn't feel a thing.
Awesome. That's what big sisters are for.
My boss at the time had a really hard time with hers. Like she had the surgery. She was like puffed out and bruised for 3 or 4 days. So when I told her I was getting my wisdom teeth out, she was like, I think it was on a Tuesday. She's like, oh my God, take the rest of the week off. It's going to be terrible for you. And so we got them out. 2 hours later, my sister and I were at McDonald's. Like, and then I just had the rest of the week off.
Oh, awesome.
And then I came back and I was like, yeah, it was tough. It was hard. It's still tender. Don't look at it. I got an eye infection. So I got drops for my eye infection. And then I went to work, and the first time I went to work, the lights were really harsh. So I was like, I was going to work from home. I can't because of this. But then every couple of days I would go back to work because I was like, I can't be off with an eye infection for this long. And I went back to the doctor and I was like, it's not getting any better. It's moved to the other eye now. Like my eyes are hurting. And so this went on for like a month. I worked from home in a job that didn't allow working from home. I was a facilitator. I was training. And my boss was like, do you have enough work to do at home? Like, yeah, I'm praying to my teddy bears. I don't know what I'm doing. But I didn't go home for a month because every time I'd show up to work, she'd look at my eyes and be like, no, go home. I was like, okay. And it turned out that the eye infection had cleared up within 3 days. I was allergic to the eye drops.
No. Oh so my God.
Every day I was putting the drops in and just making it worse and worse and worse.
Jesus.
So if I was poisoning myself for a month just to get out of work.
Fucking hell. Whole month as well. I had the funniest infection I ever had. Right. So one of the things that happens when you're taking a lot of opiates is that it can kind of subdue your immune system a bit, and then you can be more prone to infections. That's why sometimes my face is a bit gross. But like one time, like went to see my doctor and I was like, okay, this is a weird one. I was like, my belly button's leaking. And then he was like, what? Yeah, I was like, I think I've got an infection in my belly button. And then he looked at it, he was like, yeah, how did you manage that? And I was like, I don't know. And it was just like, it was just constantly just wet and like clear fluid.
Stop talking. I regret. The last 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was so gross.
Sometimes I appreciate how open and forthcoming you are, but sometimes you just shut up.
Yeah. I think I enjoy the gross value as well. Like, if just like somebody getting so like
belly button leaking.
Yeah, it wasn't like loads. It was just like,
how is that even possible, though? What is in there that would?
Oh, it was because it was so it was summer, and it was basically a fungal infection. So it's because I was carrying a bit of weight at the time, and my belly button basically got sweaty and attracted a fungal infection. And then
I wish I hadn't asked. It went from gross to grosser.
Yeah. And then all it was was just like, it wasn't like loads of fluid or anything. It was just like constantly damp with clear fluid.
Stop.
And then if I wiggled my finger in it, it would go.
Hey, do you want to break up? Because this is how this is how you end friendships. I'm speechless. I don't even know what we're talking about today.
Yeah, we were going to go over that. Are we dating the same guy?
Oh yeah.
So what I thought might be quite interesting to do first is show an example of why these groups exist. And I came across a random video earlier, and I think it just sums up the kind of douchebaggery that is out there. This is worse than my fungal infection.
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah. Right, so have you got it?
Yep.
I just think it's a horrible thing to do, innit? But fuck it, you know what? Long story short, brother, I was meeting a bird. I think she's from Canterbury, so not far from here, I think. This bird's coming to see me, so I'm like, cool, whatever. It's like a midweek thing, right? So she's come all the way to Ilford. She's got like an overground train. I completely forgot that she's coming. Anyway, she's like, I'm on the train. I was like, fuck, alright, can't be arsed. And I've gone to fucking go get her. As soon as she sat in the car, I'm like, nah, bruv, like, you're not as pretty as your photos. Like, this was a hinge thing. I don't know what to do. We're in the car. She's come from Canterbury. And I'm thinking, she's thinking she's going to stay around. She's got a bag and everything. So I'm thinking, bruv, what the fuck do I do? I'm driving round. I'm sweating. Zero combo. I've gone to Wolford Abbey to meet one of my boys. I'm like, wait here. Gone upstairs. I'm talking to him. I'm like, bro, like, what the fuck should I do? He's like, call me, pretend like I've had an accident. I was like, I can't do that. And I was like, whatever, just left. I'm still driving about. I thought, fuck it. I drove back to where I picked her up from, and I was like, look, let's just go to Sainsbury's. Let's get a few snacks, and then we can go back to mine and chill. She's like, all right, cool. Anyway, we're together. We walk into Sainsbury's, aisle 9 with the snack section. I'm like, oh, just give me 1 second. I've forgotten my wallet. And I've just gone back to the car. I've gone back to the car, and I've driven off, and I've left her there. Do you know what? If you're listening to this, I am so sorry. I wasn't man enough to say it. I know I left you.
What about a bag? You might have got a bag.
I'm so sorry.
He's not sorry. He's not sorry. He's laughing the entire time.
Yeah, and it's not even self-deprecating laughter. Like,
no, he's still laughing at her all this time later.
Yeah.
Fucking ass. I mean, if all men were that honest with their douchebaggery, then we wouldn't need sites like that.
Yeah,
they're
true.
telling on themselves.
Yeah.
But I see the other side. So, I mean, we have the example. I don't know if you want to show the Facebook page of Are We Dating the Same Guy? But I also have heard of a lot of jilted lovers going onto that site and making shit up about men who dump them. So I think that much like anything, the original intent was a good one, but it is just degraded into something that's making all the women who are using it look bad, because it's not an honest feed anymore. It's a lot of angry women, or a lot of it, because I don't even know if there's a male equivalent, but there's a lot of angry women who were jilted, or like this woman would have been within her right to do it. But then we might get other women saying like, yeah, that guy did the same thing to me, even though he didn't.
It's like an evidentiary thing, isn't it? That it's good to create a group like that because you need a place for women to discuss these things. That's how society functions. And about 6 years ago, I found an article that was from 2017 that was talking about how these women found out that they were all basically dating the same person, and that he was just like a cheating piece of shit, basically, and was just leading them all on. And then when all these groups then get set up, the people that are asking, "Do we know this guy?" They're not being given evidence. They're just being told, and they're taking it on face value that these other women are telling the truth. When you need to show the text, you need to show the dating photos.
Absolutely. There's got to be something other than, yeah, me too. Because, I mean, not to say, sounds like we're not believing women, but there has been evidence where women have just been shitty. Like there was one group, I forget where it was, where a woman who was in the group knew the guy they were talking about, and she opted in to say, absolutely no, that wouldn't have happened. Here's how I know. I've known this guy for however long, and like on the date that you were saying this happened, he wasn't even there. Like came with receipts that it wasn't him, and then she was blocked from the group because they kicked her out because she was saying no, he's not an asshole. Because like a lot of these groups start off positively, and then all the okay, so I'm going to tell you about a story a book that I just recommended to you called Radicalized by Cory Doctorow. It's 4 novellas, and it tells a story of a person in, for the most part, 3 of the 4 stories in just a regular situation and how they become radicalized. So the first one is this futuristic tale of this apartment building where they have floors dedicated to poor people. They live there at reduced rent, but their appliances are like their toaster can only toast a certain type of bread. Like it's mechanical. It's got these. So if you don't put that bread in it, it's not going to toast it. It sends feeds back to the company that made it so that they know. So they're forcing you to stay poor because you're being forced to buy this bread that's more expensive to use in this toaster, and you can't afford to get your own toaster. So it's this woman figures out how to hack the machines. So she goes, it's her whole story about doing that. So there's that story about like how poverty, and she's an immigrant, so people are treated like shit because of that. That's what radicalized her. But there's one about this guy whose wife is diagnosed with breast cancer. So he's looking for a support group on Facebook or online that's going to help him get through it. And then the group devolves into a bunch of really, really angry men because their wives, their children, whomever could have been treated if their insurance companies paid. So then they start bombing insurance companies and that's their how they were radicalized. And it started as a support group for men, and then it turned into this domestic terrorist group, which, and I know that's an extreme example and it's a fictional example, but these groups are the same. And I see it on Reddit all the time. There's a Reddit group called like Men's Rights, and it started as a group where men could talk about the things they were experiencing, that not their loss of rights, but just how can we work to make the system better for everybody. And now it is just women hating, kind of like, oh yeah, 14's fine, right? Kind of bordering on pedophilia. But it started with intentions. And there's women's group that were the same. It started as a place for women to share experiences and stories, and now it's kill all men. And those are we dating the same guys are in the same place. It starts as this guy fucked me over. I just want to make sure everybody else is aware. Or this guy made me really uncomfortable. He was really creepy. You want to be aware. And now it's at the point where like
it's starting to turn, isn't it?
Yeah, it's now it's at the point where, well, I liked him. He didn't want to see me again. So I'm going to make up all this shit about him. So it's there's no checks and balances to make sure that what we're putting out there is actually fact.
This whole making stuff up as well. Like, I think men also think that it's only women that do it, but I've actually had more men sabotage my dating life than I've had women do it.
Interesting.
I've had one girl, we were young at the time, but like I've had one girl spread lies about me after we had a 6-month relationship, and I've had like 4 or 5 men make up shit about me.
I wonder, is it jealousy? Is it
Yeah, I think so.
That's what it is. And I think
Mm.
with a lot of these groups, it's clout chasing. It's I want to
Yeah.
be involved. I want to be part of it. I see a lot of those stories. Like there's someone I follow on TikTok who I really like, but it's almost like that saying, if you run into an asshole in the morning, you run into an asshole. If you run into assholes all day, you're the asshole. Because having one person constantly having these battles everywhere. But they're at a point now where it barely even sounds believable. Like the last one was I was in a restaurant with my partner, and the person at the next table said something shitty about the server, so I stepped up and to save the server. And I've been to restaurants. Unless you're at a communal table, you're not hearing conversation from the next table. So it was just this like, oh, this in my head is what could be happening right now, because maybe he's the kind of guy who would say that. So I'm going to say it.
I'm going to white knight.
Yeah, I'm going to tell that story as though it's fact, even though nothing ever.
And talking about groups getting radicalized, I can think of at least two examples, one from women and one from men, right? So the first one is the #MeToo movement. Started off brilliant. Get rid of, I mean, I think Bill Burr's spoken about this as well in his stand-up. It was about getting rid of the like actual literal sex offenders and abusers. And then it starts like, all right, a comedian has to go off now to Europe and ply his trade in Eastern Europe because he was caught wanking in front of someone.
Well, I mean, even Aziz Ansari, that one where he was like, I thought we were having a good time. You never.
Oh, yeah.
Regret is not Me Too, right? Like
exactly.
So like it just got to a point, and I think something about who else? Oh, Chris Hardwick. Where his exes were coming out and saying that he was like a little bit controlling and didn't like them hanging out with other guys. It's like, that's not the same thing. Like you're co-opting a movement because you didn't have a great boyfriend. That is not the same as what the other people are experiencing. And that's, and
it's not the same as Weinstein, is it?
It's not. Like, I don't even want to say that it's diminishing her experience, but it's kind of like you didn't have a boyfriend saying to you, I'm uncomfortable when you have male friends. That's like, I don't
That's
even know.
relationship problems.
Yeah, and like that she would compare that with the Weinsteins and other things is just it makes all it's gross. It makes everybody else look bad, and that's why people start to question people's experiences, because it's like, was it really that bad, or was he just like, oh, I don't like that lipstick on you? Like it's
and then it makes it other cases really difficult. Like obviously because we're not privy to a lot of information, but with Justin Roiland. There's a lot of question marks hanging over him at the moment, but nobody knows what to believe because of all this other shit going on.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you hear that he was charged, I think he was charged with domestic abuse, and then the charges are dropped. So were the charges dropped because it was a false allegation? Were the charges dropped because there wasn't enough evidence? Were the charges dropped because we just don't know. But some people will hear, oh, the charges were dropped. She must have been lying about the whole thing, when there could have been a whole bunch of other reasons.
Exactly. And then the other group, so we've got less than a minute. So the other group is the Proud Boys. It started off, they started getting together because Gavin McInnes needed people to watch his back while he was giving speeches and talks, and he was getting attacked by Antifa people. And now Proud Boys is like a proper alt-right movement. But
I'm not saying you need to own as many pairs of glasses as I do, but I'm also not saying you need to own as many pairs of glasses as I do. Look at the selection of these frames. They are amazing. Head over to Zlul at the end of this episode, not now. Head over to Zlul. There is a link and promo code in the description of this video. Promo code GVIZL15 will save you 11% on orders over $50 and 15% on orders over $100. And just come on. Look how beautiful these frames are. I just can't get enough of them. Zlul.com.
I came across a video from a guy, and he kind of, this was the only thing that I could find. Granted, I wasn't searching for very long, but this is the only one I could find of, are we dating the same girl?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So here we go.
Guys, I'm just going to tell you, some of you women, not all you women, some of you women, I'm so thankful that I'm not in the dating world with you all, man. You know, I get a message or a link in January, are we dating the same girl, Tri-Cities? Then I got a message, hey, did you open the link and look at it? And I was like, no. And they said, you may want to. So I go in. Well, long and behold, my ex that I just got divorced from was on there. And You know, I told you I was up to 13 dudes that she was talking to behind my back. Well, there was more I didn't know about on this site, commenting on there. And guys, and remind you, she's engaged. She's engaged to a guy that lives in Vegas, has been for 6-7 months now. And she is talking to these dudes. So while I'm opening this, I'm at work and I'm like, wow, man, I showed 2 guys that I work. One of them used to work at a gym, and she was sending him nude pictures of her in the tanning bed just 3 months ago. The other one talked to her 5 months ago, and then the comments on that, if you look it up and you go to her picture, you'll see the comments. There was a guy that was supposed to meet up with her just 2 weeks ago. It blows my mind, and they all go on about the same sob story and about how she needed money, how some of them gave her money. Just the array of messages on there blows my mind, man. I just thank sweet Jesus that he opens my eyes to her every time I turn around. There's so many women out there like her, man. And you know the difference between a cheating man and a cheating woman? A cheating man will take it to his grave. He will do anything that he needs to do to keep it from the person that he's actually with, because somewhere down in him, he really loves her, or he just wants to be with her, or I don't know, use her.
He's almost done. It gets worse. So like he was fine until 10 seconds ago.
I mean, he could have tightened that up with, I saw my ex on a website, and apparently everybody in town has also seen my ex on this website. I mean, he's a little verbose.
Yeah. So he's got 30 seconds left, right? And obviously he's going down a very weird route here. And like I said, up until 10 seconds ago, his story was fine. He should have stopped talking.
Yeah.
Whatever. But he don't want to hurt her, or he wants to keep it a secret. These women don't care. When you're engaged to a man and you're sending other men nude pictures of you, that shows you don't care. You know why women don't care who they hurt? They know they can just go right to the next one. Some of you women blow my mind. I thank sweet Jesus that I'm not in the dating world no more. It is sickening. It's gut-wrenching.
Fuck this guy.
You all just out here spreading diseases and doing all these things blows my mind, and you don't care who you hurt. That's why men kill themselves so much.
So who are these women getting these diseases from? Sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
He really thinks that men are cheating on women because they really love them, want to keep it a secret. No, they just don't want to get a divorce. They don't want to have to give up half their shit. They don't want to
They want to have their cake and eat it.
Yeah, they don't want to get caught. Like it blows my mind, the break from reality that took.
Yeah,
because
right.
when women are doing it, they don't care. They're putting it out there.
What do you think you're doing then, dude?
Like, men are doing the exact same thing. If women aren't hiding it, maybe it's because they're just not as devious, or maybe they don't care. Maybe they do want to get caught because they wanted to open up a whole conversation about their relationship. And when a man's doing it, if he's sneaking around, it's because he doesn't want to get caught. Not because he doesn't want to hurt his wife, because he wants to be able to cheat with immunity and be able to do it over and over and over again. Because if he gets caught, she's going to either leave him or make things more difficult for him to cheat in the future.
And he showed a woeful ignorance as to how STIs work, but the fact he's like, well, they're off spreading their diseases or whatever, and they don't care who they hurt. And he's like, well, okay, but dude, if you go and sleep around, the disease doesn't care if you've told your wife or not. You'll still give her HIV or herpes or whatever, you fucking idiot.
But it'll just be in secret.
Yeah. Secret herpes. And the other thing is that just this is the other thing that blows my mind. I mean, men and women both do this, but it's so prevalent on social media, which is that if, like, he's had a personal experience with one bad woman, and he thinks that all women will do that in exactly the same way. You know?
Yes. And it's to borrow a page from the Douche Bro handbook.
Yeah.
Choose better women, bro.
Yeah.
Because that's what they tell women when women are like, oh, this man, he used me, he left me, he did this. Well, choose better men.
Yeah, exactly.
Choose better women.
You got to take personal responsibility for your actions and your lack of ability to keep your bitch in check.
Exactly. Maybe not. I guess in this case, bitch could be. I've always felt that bitch, dude, guys is gender neutral.
Yeah.
So yes, anyone can keep their bitch in check, male or female.
A bitch is a good word to call a guy because some guys get really upset about it.
They really do.
Yeah. They find it so effeminate.
They're so
it
weird.
really upsets them. Yeah.
It's so weird what men get sensitive about.
Yeah.
And then they complain about women being emotional.
I know. But that's the other thing, isn't it? That like they don't think that being overtly masculine and expressing anger, they don't think that's being emotional, do they?
No,
Like,
because I don't think they realize that anger is actually an emotion. If it's your
Yeah.
constant state of being, if you're always on the threshold of anger, then for you that's just it's just a regular Tuesday. You don't have to think about your emotional fortitude.
Fortitude.
It's a good word.
Yeah, they love it. They love fortitude. To start with, he had a point that, like, you know, men need to talk to each other about their dating experiences.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that he said, like, these women around here doing it. Not every woman is, like you said, not every woman is doing the same thing. I love when he's like, sorry. He said that he'd been doing this with like 13 other guys that he knew of. He's like, I thank sweet Jesus for opening my eyes. You don't think Jesus could have opened your eyes a dozen men ago? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't think you should be thanking Jesus for anything because he let her do it a dozen more times. Like she was collecting men like Jesus collected prophets.
Yeah, exactly.
Or is it apostles? Was there 12 apostles? Yes. This woman has her apostles. And this guy's like, thanks, sweet Jesus, for not letting it.
Yeah. The other thing that that blokes like that would compare with what we're saying is they'd say, yeah, but, you know, you always say all men. And it's like, well, no, we don't say all men. That's very different. And the other thing is that they might compare our discussion around how, like, if you've had a bad experience with one dog, then you're going to be wary of other dogs, that sort of thing. And it's like, well, this is completely different because with the kind of person that he's talking about, and like this is true in a whole variety of different dating experiences, that it's very clear of who would do something like that, like what he's been through. The signs are usually there. What is different about sex offenders and domestic abusers and people that hit their women is that there's no hard and fast rule for identifying them. Like ultimately you don't know. Whereas if you're with somebody who is going to sleep around and she has this, like, she might have the social media and likes to talk to a lot of guys and likes to have several men in her life, you know, it's a perfectly legit lifestyle that I don't think should be demonized, but the signs are there. If you're going to get involved with someone like that, you need to go in with your eyes open.
But also, if you're not comfortable with it, I mean, I think people expect their partners to change. But if you meet somebody, like when my husband and I met, I had a load of male friends and female friends, but I was hanging out with men and women. We were all like, a lot of my friends were in the LGBTQ plus community. So we were going to gay bars and drag shows. And my husband knew that coming into the relationship. So it's not like after we got together, he was like, well, you can't hang out with guys anymore. And I'm not comfortable with you going to like drag shows or whatever. He knew what he was getting himself into. So he chose, and I mean, he's not homophobic or transphobic, so it wasn't a difficult decision for him to make. But the first time we went to see this drag show, these drag queens after the show would teach dance lessons on the floor. And my husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, he was like sitting on this stool, and I went to get a drink. And when I turned back around, he had like 4 drag queens around him, and they were all like flirting with him, and he was just like, oh, stop it,
flicking his hair.
And that was like 25 years ago, and he still occasionally brings it up. But like and I think things change. If this guy had started dating his wife, or when they got married, she didn't have a lot of male friends and she wasn't active on social media, and then that all of a sudden started happening, there are signs that things, like you said, some people are better at hiding it than others, but you can't fault somebody for continuing the life they led before you got married after you get married. And I'm not talking about around, but if they had friends of the opposite sex before, you can't reasonably expect them to not have them later, or start questioning the motives of that friendship, because it's always been the same.
Yeah, exactly. And and so really what's happening here is that this guy is absolving himself of anything that he might have done wrong and for choosing a bad partner and everything entailed in that. And then he's projecting it all onto this other woman and making it all her fault. She's sleeping around, spreading diseases. She's a whore and Jesus needs to save her.
Yeah. Sweet Jesus. Sweet
Oh, yeah.
Jesus needs to save
Sweet Jesus.
Jesus. Well, what I think the difference that between men and women having these bad dating experiences is there was a Reddit thread where they were asking men about their worst dating experience. And a lot of the examples were she ordered really expensive drinks or she ordered really expensive food or stuff like that. Where when you ask women, it's more of the I had to make him drop me off at a house that wasn't mine because I didn't want him to know where I lived. It's very different, the struggles that men and women go through on dates. Like for men, they don't want to be financially abused, and women don't want to be physically or sexually abused. And that men don't get it. That the reason women have those sites, the intent of them is to be like, this guy's not safe. If you see this guy, stay away from him. Whereas on the men's side, it's more of a, she took me for money, because he used that example that she was using guys for money. The abuses are very different and on very different scales. And I don't know that
you have more agency and control over the financial stuff. Like you can lay down the law straight away, or like you can set it up when you're organizing your date and go like, look, how about we go Dutch the first time? So as we're getting to know each other. Yeah.
And if she's, in this example, he said that the guys were giving her money. If she's asking for money, these men could have said no. They probably said yes, thinking if I pay her, she's going to fuck me. So it wasn't like, oh, let me be your knight in shining armor to get you out of this pickle.
Exactly.
So and they could say no to money, to giving her money. When women have said no to men, it doesn't always
goes really bad.
Exactly. So there's a big difference in that, like, oh, she ordered a filet mignon and a martini versus.
Yeah, it's a fucking world of difference. And I think that, I mean, because clearly, like, if anybody listens to the podcast, I don't hold much sympathy with guys like that. And that's why. It's because the stuff is just on a completely different level. And if you just communicate with people better, select people to go out on dates with a bit more cognizance about it and a bit more understanding of yourself and what you want, then you can find people that are more appropriate for you.
It's a lack of communication.
Every time.
I got into this like very lengthy comment thread on Reddit with a guy, because he was talking about how women, when they get asked out on dates, they always want equality until it's time for the bill to come. And then it's like, but guy, if you want to split the bill, say you want to split the bill.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, and like what has always been an unspoken rule as far as back as I remember, is whoever asks for the date pays for the date. So if I asked you out, I'm asking you, I would pay for that date.
Yeah.
If you ask someone, you pay for that date. If you agree to go Dutch, but he was like all over the place about, you want equality until the bill. Split the bill, bitch. Just say, we're gonna get two bills. We're gonna split the bill. Talk about it going up front. If I'm asked out, I'm going to assume that's the case. Yeah,
because you're asking somebody, oh, do you want to come out and spend some time together, and I'll treat you to a night out? Like, I thought that was the unspoken.
I thought so too. Whoever asks pays.
Yeah.
But no, this guy was like, and then it degraded to the point where he was telling me to suck my father's dick. Like, that's how. It couldn't be a reasonable discourse. It had to be. No. Yeah.
You're probably an ugly bitch anyway. Oh my God. That's usually what it is, isn't it?
Usually.
Is my disturbed boyfriend worth it?
Disturbed? Good.
So I'm going to read this in two parts, okay? Because I want to see how your opinion changes. So, my boyfriend was never loved as a child. He was in care from a young age, and for several years he was involved in petty crime and drugs. We met 4 years ago and have been in an on-off relationship ever since. All right. So that's all right so far, okay?
Okay.
So is he worth it? So I tried to make allowances for him, okay, but he's so cold. And recently, he stole some money from me and slept with one of my friends. Am I wasting my time?
Yeah. So, okay. Forget his history. He stole money and slept with your friend.
Yeah.
That's a deal breaker. I think that's two deal breakers: the theft and the infidelity.
Yeah.
Why is she even asking?
Yeah.
Were they off at this time?
Even so, though, it's still one of your friends, and it's a low blow, isn't it?
It is low. It's also, I mean, you're also losing a friend in the equation because that friend was shitty.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so far.
Oh no, that's the whole thing now. Yeah.
Oh, I thought there was another part.
I was going to do this. That's what I did. Like, I read the first part and then I read the second part, but that was it.
Oh yeah, no, cut him loose. Like, why is she even? She should have realized the answer to that question before she even put the question mark at the end of that sentence. No, he stole from you. He's not the whole cold thing that you can work through cold. She's making excuses for him. Like, well, he was never loved and he was in care, so it's okay that he stole from me, right? And fucking no.
That's a crime. No, that's criming.
Yes, you don't make allowances for people who aren't willing to change their situation.
And it sounds like an escalation in behavior as well.
She said petty crimes. It was drugs. They had 4-year relationship on and off. Like, just that alone, the on and off for 4 years. At some point, you just got to shit or get off the pot, make a decision. But then that decision pretty much gets made for you when they steal from you and then fuck your friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's not worth it.
That's the thing. There's not much to say on that because it is that simple.
She's really just trying to make excuses because what's the other purpose of the backstory, right? Though people don't say shit for the sake of saying shit. So she's trying to excuse his behavior and probably hoping that someone will say, well, maybe you just need to love him more, or you need to fix him. You need to show him more. No.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. Like there is a line, and if there's like if you've been together for like 4 years, there has to have been some sign that he was working on it in that period.
Yeah.
And if you've constantly been on and off, that means that there isn't much working on it.
No, she's just trying to fix him.
Yeah.
That I saw a quote once that said, "Men date women." I don't know. Tell me what your thoughts on this. Men date women hoping they'll never change, and women date men hoping that they can change them.
I think there's an element of truth in it on a very basic level.
Exceedingly basic, yes.
Yeah.
Basic. But she thinks she can fix this guy. If I love him enough, I can fix him, because that's what romantic comedies tell you.
Yeah. I think I've spoken this before. I can't remember if I've spoken about it on the podcast, but I've certainly spoken about it on TikTok. But it's this false belief people have about what Beauty and the Beast means and about why women like bad guys. They have a false belief about that sort of dynamic, and it's because women civilize men. That, like, you get us to calm the fuck down, and like boys' schools are a shit show unless there's girls around, and it's like this tragedy that for girls, boys are a distraction at school, and boys fuck it up because girls are really studious and they excel better at school when they're in single-sex classrooms, and they have higher educational attainment than boys do, right up into our 20s. But for boys, we need girls around because they make us be better people. It's very well researched.
Interesting. We'll have to dig deeper into that one day.
Yeah.
This guy maybe needs to be surrounded by more women to make him a better man, because he's a shit show.
Yeah, it sounds like he needs more of them. And so that's why, like, that's where the Beauty and the Beast thing comes from, is that you want to find a guy, like, I'm talking in a very general, basic way here, but women should look for a man who is tameable. So, like, there's a bit of danger about him. He can provide, but he's capable of being violent and protective and nurturing and all those other things. But the woman brings it out of him and helps him control it and harness it so that he becomes a good provider for his partner and his family, and he can raise his kids well. And
that seems like a lot of pressure to put on the woman in that scenario, instead of him just being able to do that for himself.
It's not really, it's just the natural way. Like, but this is the reason when it becomes a problem and pressure on the woman is when they go for guys like the person in this thing. It's the false belief about it is what puts pressure on the women, because the other stuff is just natural. Like, it's just what happens in relationships. It's just like, I mean, I'm sure if you think about your husband over the last like 25 years, there would be lots of things that, I mean, that you're probably not even aware about that he's got better at over the decades. And that would be your influence. And that's just naturally what happens. The man has, like, the pressure on the man is that he has to be willing to do it. That, like, he has to see what his wife is doing for him. And that he is, and then realizing that her trying to change you isn't a malicious act. It's helpful. Like, you want this to happen. You know, and it's, and it's hard for a man to do that in a sense because our society isn't built to encourage men to change and to be better people.
And it's also like in this instance, she's really letting him off the hook because of a past that he needs to work on coming to terms with. If he's still, after being, now he's an adult, they've been in this on and off again relationship for 4 years, and he's still behaving the same way he did 4 years ago, he's not maturing emotionally, and he needs to work on dealing with his past and getting through that, and not, because he may also be using that as testing his boundaries. If he never felt loved, he may be, if I treat her like shit and she keeps coming back, then she really loves me. Like, there could be this testing
Totally.
to see where's that breaking point, and then how long is it going to take before will he think he's been proven right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for 4 years he has screwed her over, he's stolen from her. At some point she's not going to come back, and then he'll be like, bitches, I knew it, she didn't love me. Instead of realizing that she reached her breaking point because I was just shitty on top of shitty on top of shitty. And at some point she's got to realize that she's also deserving of somebody who's going to be in a relationship with her the way she wants them to be in a relationship with her.
Yeah. And then that's what professional therapists are for that, as guys like that. Like, and that's what his mates are supposed to be for. Like, if you have real friends, they should tell him what he's been doing. This is why you make friends with women as well, because then the women will definitely tell you.
But it's like, I saw a video recently and it was talking about the difference between male friends and female friends, right? Like, women, when they are in a friend group, it's conversation, it's support, it's talking, where men in a friend group will usually do things like, let's get together and watch the game, or get together and play a sport or do a thing. So it's more about the activity than it is about the time. Right? Like, when my husband hangs out with his friends, they're usually hanging out to go to a game or watch the game, or there's a purpose to it, versus hey, women are like, haven't seen you in a while, let's get together and catch up. And like, I've had plans with friends where it's like, we're going to go to dinner and see a movie, and then we just get talking and it's like, oh shit, we missed the movie, let's just continue the conversation. Whereas with the men that I've known, and again, not all men, disclaimer, blah blah blah, with that, it is that transaction of, we can't just get together to talk, we got to get together to do a thing. And if conversation happens during that thing, then that's okay.
I think for men, it's the intervention stuff is more situational. So like you're saying there, women get together and they talk and they'll share experiences. But with men, it's more that if we see something, then we should see something, say something. So we should be saying something when it happens. Like that example a while ago of that woman that was talking about how that guy ripped her hat off and threw it on the ground. Like, his friends are weak men, that guy. Like, if they weren't weak men, they should be saying to their mate, buy her a new hat, give her money now, apologize, you've been a dick, that was assault. And the problem is that our society is full of too many weak men that are willing to watch that happen. You know,
it's that, get along to go along, or whatever that phrase, that you don't want to be seen as that weak guy, because that's how they probably interpret it. If they call him out on it, then his friends are going to make fun of him for calling him out, instead of being like, yeah, you're right, that is a shitty thing to do.
Because
like that video that you sent me about that woman going off on the train.
Oh yeah.
There were guys in the comments being like, how come the women aren't stepping up to stop her? Blah blah blah. There's already a guy trying to stop her. I didn't see any women on that train, but he was trying to make it as a gotcha that women aren't going to stop other women from doing shitty things. There was a guy already stopping her. Like, how much more do you want?
Yeah, the conductor was already there. I think that's who that guy was, who's the conductor.
Oh, was it? Oh,
yeah. And so, like, there's already a guy that works there trying to stop her, like, sexually assaulting this bloke. I think she should have been arrested for sexual assault myself, but Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, this person's answer, the agony aunt's answer was, I realize you feel conflicted and responsible for him, but I think you should start thinking about saving yourself. You have tried for years to help, and he's rewarded you by taking your money and having sex with another woman. What's going to be next? Of course, it's tragic. He's had a terrible life, but he's an adult now, and it's up to him to seek help and turn things around. You can't risk him dragging you down to his level.
Clearly not Deirdre.
Yeah. Fucking spot on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
it's sad that she couldn't see that for herself, though.
Yeah.
She had to write it out and send it because she couldn't see that for herself, or her friends weren't telling her, cut him loose.
Yeah. That's what G-Vizzle Sizzle's about.
I'll be your friend. I'll tell you to cut him loose.
Yeah. And then this one, I think we might have actually spoken about this offline before. It looked really familiar. But anyway, so I am 43 years old. We're going to go for the other sex this time. So my wife believes that I'm having an extramarital affair, but it's not true. Every day she applies nail polish on my penis to check if I'm being unfaithful. I feel a burning sensation and it hurts me. Please help.
Both, you need couples therapy and your wife needs therapy. I don't even know nail polish on the penis. Why? I'm hung up on that. Why would she put nail polish on his penis? What is that gonna do?
I think she's thinking that if he's inserting it in somebody else, then it'll rub off.
Yeah, but I've had nail polish that chips a day after I put it on. That's not that's a terrible indicator.
I thought you were going to say something else.
No, I was not. I'm talking about quality of nail polish. Like, nail polish is not meant to be put on skin. It's gonna come off because it's not a permanent marker. She doesn't every day. She does this to this. No, if she's not willing to get therapy and not willing to do couples therapy, then he needs to break it off with her, and then she needs to seek therapy on her own, because that is not normal behavior.
No, that's highly paranoid. The fact that you're applying something to somebody else's body, and
but he let her do it. The first time she said, I'm going to do this, he should have said, absolutely no. Let's go to therapy. Let's talk through this. Let's get some sort of intervention. But he let her do this. And then she's done it every day. At what point is she going to actually learn to trust him? Does she think that this nail polish is like a dog's shock collar, that if I take it off, I'll run rampant?
Yeah.
If he's never given you any reason to believe that he's having an affair, somebody somewhere screwed this woman around and she's never gotten over it.
It could be that she's mentally unwell as well, like, because this is an extreme thing to do, which makes me feel like there's mental illness there.
Yeah.
And it's the worst thing that you can do is enable somebody's mental illness, you know?
Yeah, she needs to get help.
Yeah. Stat. The response was, it's a very unusual piece of detective work. If you have if you have no objection to the tattoo mark on your penis, ask your wife to find another substance that won't burn, or convince her of your loyalty.
How? You can't convince her of loyalty. There's nothing he can do to convince her. She needs to seek therapy. This is not an issue on his part. This is 100% on her part. She needs to work on getting over that level of paranoia and control.
Yeah, because it's and I just kind of think it's one of those things that no matter what sex or gender somebody is, like, the feelings towards it would be the same, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And she's made up her mind. She or he or whoever you said, if it's a man or a woman, they've made up their mind. There's nothing you can do to convince them otherwise.
Yeah.
Because if he's not cheating, they'll still say, well, that's something a cheater would say. If you're and if they ever do get caught cheating, it's, oh, I knew it. So there's nothing he can do. There's no winning. She needs to work through her trust issue.
I'm also wondering, like, technical question, how much nail polish and where on the penis?
It's an excellent question. For it to burn, like, I've gotten nail polish on my skin before and it doesn't burn unless it's like an open cut. So granted, I have a penis, but The only place I could see it burning would be if it's like the urethra, because
Or,
that would,
yeah, yeah.
the other skin is just skin. It wouldn't have any real effect to it.
I don't know, like, because if he's not circumcised, so us uncircumcised men, the head of our penis is more sensitive. So
But it's still skin.
yeah, but it is kind of like a lot more sensitive. I could give me a week. I'll apply polish to it every day for a week, and we'll see what happens.
Try different brands and see. I would like to see this. Try different brands to see if, because maybe it could be the ingredients. They used to make nail polish once upon a time with some pretty toxic ingredients.
Yeah.
So it's an older nail polish that could be causing some
irritation
on his skin. Yes.
Can I send you the photos?
No.
What's the point then? I've set this whole thing up for the last 10 minutes.
Just to send solicited dick pics?
Yeah, exactly.
No, sir. I'll trust your empirical data in an Excel spreadsheet with no photo.
But we also need comparison groups. So if you can do it to your husband too at the same time with the same brands, and we'll see if there's like cross-cultural differences or something.
You know what? I'll bring it up with him over dinner tonight, but I'm going to pretty safely say the answer is going to be fuck no.
Well, what's the point of having a husband then if you can't just tell him what to do?
If I can't nail polish on his penis? I've been saying that for years.
Just tell him it'll help him grow as a human being. And tell him about the psychology of having a wife and what your wife is there to do. And it's supposed to make you a better man, and this will make him a better man.
I'm going to need you to document that a little bit more, maybe a peer-reviewed study or two, because me just saying it is going to really get that point across.
Well, you're convincing enough on the podcast. You should be able to convince your husband, of all people.
He's stubborn. He still likes to think for himself.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I know. I allowed it for the longest time. I enabled the behavior, and now it's a hard habit to break.
There's a reason why I'm not a married man. It's because I have independence.
You've been together for 8 years and living together for a lot of it. You're
essentially together 8 years. Is it 9? I forget. It's either 8 or 9.
And you've been living together for most of it, so you're essentially. Do you have common law marriage there? What are the rules around that?
No idea. We've never looked into it.
Yeah, you're married. You can start calling her your wife.
Sometimes I do say call her my missus, and then it confuses people because I got no wedding rings. And they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you were married."
People get really hung up on the wedding ring. Like I remember on TikTok, I made a video, and I don't wear my wedding rings because my hands swell throughout the day. So if I'm walking the dogs, my hands get swollen. I'm not going to be taking off and putting on my wedding ring all day. So I wear occasionally I'll wear the silicone rings. And my husband doesn't wear his wedding ring either. But I made a video early days on TikTok about how my husband jokingly doesn't watch my TikToks. And someone said, well, if you wore your wedding ring, maybe he would.
Oh my God. Was it a bloke that said it?
It was a woman who said it.
Oh.
And there was another video I made. I forget what that one was about, but someone else, I don't know if it was a man or woman that time, commented on me not wearing your wedding ring. And it's like, it's a bauble.
Yeah. It doesn't do anything.
It's a trinket. It doesn't, putting it on, taking it off, it doesn't change anything about our relationship.
No.
It's not like it was cursed by a Disney witch that when I take off the we're married.
I think it's because of I wonder if it's like the cultural thing, and because in the States they tend to be a bit more puritanical about this stuff, and it's always been associated with men going out and taking their wedding ring off. Yeah, Ray, I gotta go fuck it now.
I don't know. It's a weird thing. Although there was once upon a time, I think men would say that they would actually put on a wedding ring because it attracted women to see. That was I don't know how factual that is, or if it's a myth, but that they put on a ring because it would attract women.
Well, our final thoughts, we've got about 20 seconds left. My partner, back in one of her previous jobs, had to travel a lot. She used to put a ring on because men used to harass her in hotels when she was trying to work in the bar or hotel restaurant. So she started putting a ring on to get her to leave her alone.
I'm glad worked because it doesn't for a lot of men.
No, it didn't really work for her that much, but it reduced the number of approaches.
Well, and it served its purpose.
Yeah.
They took
Oh, enjoy the rest of your day, fuck nuts.